All right. All right, everyone. Hope all is well. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there or those in the role of being a father. And I want to say on my Facebook and my Instagram, I did a I did a quick thankfulness, if you will, of just, what I do. I just did a conversation about what it means to be a father and really the leadership role of a father in so many words. I'm trying to think of what you call it, but it was a explainer video or a video statement for about 30 minutes or so, just pretty much discussing for those that may not be a father, thinking about becoming a father, maybe in a position where they'll become a father soon or are a father and want to, just continue to develop as a father. The focus of my conversation was focusing on accepting the leadership role that is required in being a father. So if I have the link, I'll share it on YouTube. But nonetheless, I wanted to bring up a fun topic. It's been a while, and so I wanted to jump right into something that could really provide more authenticity in yourself as well as your brand on your road to building your customer base, increasing your customer base, as well as building and increasing your presence in the community. So, excuse me. So in this particular article, we have Inc.com, and the discussion today or the article today is 5 crystal clear signs to quickly spot someone with bad leadership skills. And now that I read this article, it's funny because we can use this, especially when we talked about the role of a leader, the role of a father being a leader. We can see, especially maybe in this article, what we can improve on as far as our leadership skills, even with being a father, as today is Father's Day, as we're going live in this video here. And so let's jump right into it. Again, thank you for liking, subscribing, following, donating what you can for in the amount you felt this message was worth to you. Happy Father's Day. Congratulations in advance for your continued success. And I look forward to seeing you at the top. Let's jump right into it. 5 crystal clear signs, of course, Inc.com. Big shout out to them. 5 crystal clear signs to quickly spot someone with bad leadership skills. I've been coaching leaders for over 20 years. Here are 5 mistakes I've seen the worst leaders make. Now, again, my goal is to make sure that you are equipped with all the information that makes me sharp. And I thank you for visiting my webpage, www.ldhadvising.com. That's L as in Lord, D as in Donovan, H as in Hilton, advising.com. Fun fact, I'm a registered Lord of Glencoe in the country of Scotland, courtesy of Highland Titles. That's another conversation. I hope to have a link to my 5-minute explainer video explaining my lordship title, the motivation, and clearly separating the UK or United Kingdom culture, if you will, of lordship and not the lordship title being anything that's faith-based. So if I have the link, I'll put the link to the 5-minute explainer video to break that down. And so here we go. We want to see what it looks like as far as mistakes from leaders. Expert opinion by Marcel Schwantes. Forgive me if I mispronounce your name. Schwantes, Inc. Contributing editor, executive coach, speaker, and author at Marcel Schwantes on social media. At the minimum, IG looks like. And so if we can connect with Marcel and maybe he can, join me on the podcast, Insight into Insight, All Things Societal. I'll leave the link there. Love to get some more insight from Marcel's perspective. A big shout out and thank you, Marcel, for putting this article together. Big shout out to Inc. for powering this article. Here we go. To avoid the common pitfall of bad leadership, start by modeling the behavior of good leadership. I'll read that again. To avoid the common pitfall of bad leadership, start by modeling the behavior of good leadership. Fun fact, during the making of this video, I am a registered behavior therapist. Have over 1,000 hours of intervention experience in sessions with learners, particularly young adults. And modeling when it comes to reducing behavior and increasing social and acquisition skills, modeling, which is leading by example, showing, is so important for the learner, because I feel like that is a quicker way, or one of the quickest ways to plant a seed, because we're trying to instruct someone, but sometimes people have never seen it. So modeling something is huge. And so let's go back into this first sentence. To avoid the common pitfall of bad leadership, start by modeling the behaviors of good leadership. That's leadership by example. Leadership by example. Let's continue on with the article. The best leaders I have coached and witnessed over the last 20 years are committed to understanding how to meet the needs of their diverse employees. Commercial break me, please. Shout out to Joe T. Baker III, jtb3.org. We'll see if we'll put that link up there. Connect with my friend Joe T. Baker. Has an awesome story of perseverance and has been able to share that story, and that story has inspired me. And so when he shares his story, he says commercial break me when he's taking a break from the story he's sharing and giving his opinion. So huge shout out and motivation or inspiration for that. Commercial break me, please. But let's read that sentence again. The best leaders I have coached and witnessed over the last 20 years are committed to understanding how to meet the needs of their diverse employees. I just want to point out here is commitment is the word, and or committed is the word, and committed to understanding how to meet the needs of their diverse employees, not how the diverse employees need to meet the needs of the individual, but how the individual can meet the needs of their diverse employees, and recognizing that there's diversity within their employees. These are things that, as a father, we need to make sure that we are being aware of and mindful of as well when we are raising our children. And if that makes sense, let's continue on. They have a keen sense of the things they need to avoid doing to keep leading at a high level. I'm going to pause right there as well. Commercial break me, please. They have a keen sense of the things they need to avoid doing to keep leading at a high level. A lot of times what you need to avoid doing, a lot of times that comes from experience and going through trials and being comfortable, being outside your comfort zone, and more. I do want to, if I can put the link up to my free 35-minute workshop or webinar on how to get comfortable stepping outside your comfort zone. It's on YouTube, free 35-minute webinar. I think it'll really help you on your journey. So it's important to, they have a keen sense of things they need to avoid doing to keep leading at a high level. So in order to have a sense of things to avoid, you have to go through those experiences. You have to be comfortable going through those experiences. Those experiences may not be easy, but in the long run, the old saying is all things work for good, because we want to make sure we're leading at a high level. Below, I'm focusing on 5-minute leaders. Below, I'm focusing on 5 mistakes leaders must absolutely avoid to become more effective. These mistakes have been captured in client 360-degree surveys, annual opinion surveys, personal interviews with hundreds of employees and leaders, and the literature. Here we go. Number 1, not recognizing the strengths of employees. Not recognizing the strengths of employees. And since we're talking about Father's Day, not recognizing the strengths of your children. Moving on. Not recognizing people's unique talents beyond a job description and how that translates to high performance is undoubtedly an engagement killer. Commercial break me, please. There's so much to unpack in that sentence, but we're going to move on. Truth is, people love and want to use their strengths. The best leaders will leverage close relationships with employees by discovering their strengths and bringing out the best in their employees. Are you bringing out the best in your children? Of course, your employees, but we're talking about Father's Day. Are you bringing out the best in your children? Do you love and want to use their strengths? Do you know what your children's strengths are? Respectfully, do you know what their weaknesses are? Moving on. Number 2, not spending one-on-one time with employees. When those in leadership roles are booking unnecessary meetings while spending less one-on-one time with team members, they are sending a message that they don't care about them. To avoid your schedule becoming a reflection of your selfish priorities in the eyes of employees, create margin and build in time for one-on-ones. There is a simple way to do it in 15 minutes or less. Here are the steps for crafting one-on-one meetings that get results. And there's a hyperlink there that will take you to those steps. If you want, leave in the comments one-on-one meetings, and we will click that link and see what that looks like. Additionally, you may consider blocking off time for your team members to drop by and ask questions, address concerns, get mentored, and just check in. And jumping into the children, this is a really great point number 2, Marcel. But jumping in with the children, something caught my attention. With my children, I'm still working on it, but I try to make it a point each month, and this was given to me by a family member. Each one of my children have a particular day they were born, or were birthed in. So each month on that day, my goal is to take time out to spend time with that child for a few hours or less, and just some one-on-one time with that child. And so that way we're spending time at least one-on-one once a month, 12 times a year, and it's building up to the day, if that makes sense. And so bringing it back to number 2, which is that not spending one-on-one time with employees, not spending one-on-one time with children is essential if we're looking to develop great leaders, which are our children and our staff. Number 3, lacking transparency. Here is why people holding power hoard and withhold information. It's about control. Control is one of the most effective ways to kill trust. I'm going to read that sentence again, those 2 sentences, or 3. Here's why people holding power hoard and withhold information. It's about control. That's a powerful statement, and we can jump into that. If you want to talk about control in the business world, the corporate world, in our personal lives, how we move around that, put control in the comments. We'll jump into that in more detail. And control is one of the most effective ways to kill trust. That reminds me of a marriage. I could think of, this is a tough one, respectfully, a father and daughter relationship, especially as the daughter is maturing, because I know I would have control issues because I love my daughter, and I will have to work on that, so trust and killing trust. So like, for example, I don't know, just I'm in my daughter's phone, or I said I'm going to do one thing, I'm doing something different. It does kill that trust. And so I can see that, especially when it comes to your staff. Moving on, a leader hoards information to control his environment, and the people in it cannot be trusted. I'll read that again. A leader hoards information to control his environment, and the people in it cannot be trusted. The reverse of this is a leader who acts responsibly by sharing information and being transparent about decisions, direction, and emotions within their team. This is what I had to learn just going through experience as a father, of course, in business, consulting, and as an executive leader, which is acting responsibly by sharing information and being transparent about decisions, directions, and emotions with their team. So learning to speak, with my children and being transparent in a professional, loving, parental way, and being able to open the door for questions and answers as much time as needed to be able to give the child the information and the comfort they need to be able to move forward, so that we're all on the same page. And emotions, even though they may hurt, we're on the same page as far as direction. And as long as we're moving in the right direction, time indirectly can heal all wounds, what they say. We don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if it's true or not as of right now, but these are just metaphors and sayings. So I'll read this sentence again, this last one. The reverse of this is a leader who acts responsibly by sharing information and being transparent about decisions, direction, and emotions with their team. So we want to make sure as fathers that we're sharing information, being transparent about our decisions, about directions, and emotions with our children. If we're not doing those things, I'm highlighting it for a reason. Write it down so that you can look into those things in more detail. And if you'd like for me to assist you in that process, you can put in the comment at this time sharing information and being transparent. And excuse me, you could put lacking transparency. You can put lacking transparency up here so we know. Number 4, micromanaging. In micromanaged environments, I have noticed a deficiency in the expression of creativity or the free flow of ideas, open and transparent discussions within the group or input on decisions, team motivation and collaboration, psychological and emotional safety. While we need to recognize the micromanagers are human, while we need to recognize that micromanagers are human, like the rest of us, and generally have good intentions, they often lack the day-to-day awareness of what it takes to inspire people intrinsically to excel. They tend to operate from a different paradigm altogether. Now, commercial break me, please. This is where the personal growth comes in for us to truly be a leader. And we have to, for us to personally grow, we have to heal ourselves in that process, or get healed, or get healing, if that makes sense. That is, and there's a whole different process for that, but that is something that we do have to recognize, which is healing. We can't develop without healing first. And we may have some things that are in our past that we consciously or subconsciously need to get ironed out as far as wrinkles. And so I say that to say, generally having good intentions, as far as being a parent, we are still lacking the day-to-day awareness of what it takes to inspire our children, because we don't really know their strengths. We don't know what was it earlier? I don't want to even use mixed words. We didn't the strengths, at least discovering their strengths, which is what we have here. There was something else regarding strengths at the beginning, but I don't want to take too much time away. Give me a second, y'all. So there's strengths, but there was another word that came with it. But anyway, I don't want to spend too much time. So when we're able to focus on strengths, then we're able to naturally or intentionally inspire the individual more to excel. But as parents, we have to get out of our own paradigm, out of maybe the way that we were brought up and how we were raised, and work and meet your child where they are, mixed in with, some innovation for your parenting, if you will, of course, with some old school, but a free flow as to providing, again, a relationship with that child. You might have multiple, and that's why that one-on-one is so important. You have to have those unique relationships, and as we saw earlier, that door being open to be able to have that child excel, to have your team excel. And so far, not micromanaging and by basically not taking time to develop that one-on-one is something that we avoid. Moving on, number 5, needing to be right. It's a good one. A manager who always has to be right and needs to have the final say on everything shows emotional intelligence. I'll read that again. Fathers, a manager who has to be right and needs to have the final say on everything shows a lack of emotional intelligence. What does that mean to you? Leave in the comments before we continue on. A father who always has to be right and needs to have the final say on everything shows a lack of emotional intelligence. How does that resonate with you? We don't always have to be right, but we always have to lead. Some leaders have to follow. Some leaders have to be students as much as being teachers and leading. Moving on. When they don't ask for input from others, when they don't ask for input from their children, especially during tough times, which can be really stressful, trust starts to fade and team morale takes a hit. So if you are in a position, commercial break me please, if you're in a position right now where your trust is fading with your children, the morale with your children is taking a hit, then we need to get more input from the children. What I mean by that is, hey, I don't know about you, child, you're talking to your child, but I really feel like we're not on the same page. We're not as strong as we need to be. What can I be doing differently? Again, we want to fill the needs, going back to the top of how to meet the needs of your diverse employees, how to meet the needs of your diverse children, and the way understanding their needs and meeting their needs. And you basically saying, in some of your words, this could be with your relationships, of course, with your staff. But right now, we're talking about your staff and your children. Hey, I just feel like we could be stronger. We should be stronger. We need to be stronger. And I want to know what I could be doing differently. Maybe a too much of, maybe not enough of. Am I off by feeling that we're not as strong as we need to be? Maybe it's just me. What do you think? That's getting input. That's building that morale. That's building trust. And we're implementing we're even writing down what they say. Write it down so we can come back to it. You don't forget it. And it shows that you're taking things seriously. And more importantly, it's harder to forget and it's easier to implement because it's right there in your face. Moving on. If a manager doesn't share a clear vision and listen to what the team has to say about it, team members are likely to feel unappreciated, disrespected, or overlooked. I'll read that again in a different perspective. If a father doesn't share a clear vision and listen to what the children has to say, what the child has to say about it, the children or the child is likely to feel unappreciated, disrespected, or overlooked. And you might say, commercial break me, please. You might say, well, that's a child, so we don't need to worry about but again, this child will soon become an adult. This child and soon to be adult needs to be empowered from day one all the way into adulthood, empowered within themselves to be able to go through life's lefts and rights, ups and downs and challenges, and be empowered enough to be able to model the behaviors that need to be done for the next generation. They can't model it if they hadn't seen it. That's why it's your job to model it, if that makes sense. And you modeling appreciation, you modeling respect, you modeling attention is what's going to build that trust and increase that team morale. This is a good article, of course, for our staff, but also for Father's Day. As a result, moving on, they might become passive and go along with things out of frustration rather than genuine engagement. And you don't want to go have a relationship going through the motions. You don't want a spouse of relationship going through the motions. You don't want it with your children. You don't want it with your staff. And you don't want it with family members and people in general. Moving on. And that looks like that's the end of the article. I want to thank Marcel again for this awesome article. Marcel, we stand in agreement for your continued success, both professionally and personally. And if you're a father, happy Father's Day to you. If you're soon to be father, both now and in the future, happy Father's Day to you, and stand in agreement on your family and your children's success. All they touch turn to gold, and having abundance, prosperity, and peace moving forward in their life. Let me know what you think about the article when it comes to 5 crystal clear signs to quickly spot someone with bad leadership skills. 5 crystal clear signs to quickly spot a father with bad leadership skills. This was a great article. Let me know what you think. Happy Father's Day to you all, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.